The victory of the Chashmonaim during the Chanukah season did not last. A century later, the Romans conquered Judea, and a century later, they decimated Jerusalem, destroyed the Holy Temple, exiled the Jewish people or murdered them, and took the menorah to Rome. Chanukah and the miracle of Chanukah seemed all but over. But something happened. Right before the destruction of the Second Temple, one of the greatest Talmudic sages of the time, by the name of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Rabbi Yochanan the son of Zakkai, met the person who would become the Roman emperor, Vespasian. Vespasian took a liking to Rabbi Yochanan, and Rabbi Yochanan asked him for a favor, which must have seemed minor and insignificant. He said to Vespasian, Tein li Yavne v'chachameha, spare me the city of Yavne and its sages. When you destroy Jerusalem and the temple, allow some Jews to continue studying the sacred texts, to continue expounding the Torah. This Vespasian agreed to. And when Jerusalem went up in flames, in the summer of the year 70 after the Common Era, Vespasian and Titus spared Yavne, only around 15 miles from Jerusalem, where Jews remained to study the Torah. What Vespasian did not realize at the time was that with that permission that he gave, he signed what would become the ultimate death sentence of Rome, and what would become a lease of eternal life for the Jewish people. Indeed, the physical temple was gone. The physical candelabra was gone. But the flame of Judaism continued to shine brightly, symbolized in the annual celebration of the Festival of Lights. But 2,000 years later, Adolf Hitler attempted to act wiser than Vespasian. In a document they discovered in the headquarters of the Gestapo in Warsaw after the Second World War, there was a memo from Berlin where the Nazis said they would allow the Jews of Western Europe to leave if there was a country willing to take them in. But the Ostjuden, the Jews of the East, whom Hitler called the Talmudisten, the Jews who study the Talmud, they must never be allowed to immigrate. They must be obliterated. You know why? Because he said they will never assimilate. The Talmudisten, the Jews who are immersed in the Talmud, will maintain the Geist, the spirit of the Jewish people and of Judaism for eternity. They must be murdered. Which is why I find it so moving that just 2 days after Chanukah this year, hundreds of thousands of Jews the world over will conclude a 7-year cycle of studying a page of Talmud every day. And now they are completing it after 7 years. Indeed, the flame of Torah and Judaism has remained intact, shining stronger than ever. And if you count the amount of candles that we kindle on Chanukah, it's 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8. It comes out to the number 36. 36 is a significant number. It's the number of the tractates of the Talmud. The Syrian Greeks didn't want to destroy the Bible itself. It was a written document. You couldn't even destroy it. The Greeks themselves translated it into Greek. We call it the Septuagint. This happened before Chanukah. What they really combated was the tradition of Judaism articulated in the 36 tractates of Talmud, which we call the living oral tradition of Yiddishkeit, of Torah, and even before the Talmud was transcribed, because when Chanukah happened, the Talmud was not transcribed yet. There was the Supreme Court of the Jewish people called the Sanhedrin. Those who carried the flag and the scholarship and the dedication to Jewish tradition, they numbered 71, and they would decide things by a majority vote, and that had to be 36, which was the majority. The editor of the Talmud in the 5th century was a man named Rev Ashi, a great Babylonian scholar, present-day Iraq. Ashi, his name is Ashi. Aleph, Shin, Yud, A-S-H-I. Ashi is Eish Yud, the fire of God, as he carried the 36 flames of the Talmudistan into eternity. Indeed, the flame has not died. And tonight, at the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, a cherry picker will lift up 2 people to light the menorah. The first one, Margaret Friedlander, a 99-year-old Auschwitz survivor, who will kindle the menorah together with Mendel Teichtel, a 6-year-old child living in Berlin. The flame will never die. Happy Chanukah.
TheYeshiva.net